The stars over the Galactic Council's core shimmered as they always had, silent and endless. Counselor Vale stood inside the observation hall, watching the data scroll across the curved glass. Line after line of readings came in planetary. Scans, ship traffic, trade logs, everything looked normal except for one thing. There were no human signals, not a single one. Vale narrowed his eyes. "Run the sweep again," he ordered. The AI responded in a calm voice. "Already confirmed. No known human activity detected across all registered sectors. No outgoing transmissions. No incoming pings. No human vessels found within range." He frowned.
What?
That was impossible. Humanity had over 200 settled worlds. Thousands of ships. A massive trade network. It couldn't just vanish. But they had. Vale turned and walked quickly down the corridor toward the council chamber. As he passed the security gates, other council members looked up from their consoles. They'd seen the same data. Whispers filled the chamber, nervous, confused voices. How could an entire species go silent overnight? "There's been no distress call. Are we under attack?" Vale stepped onto the central platform, raising his voice. "I request emergency observation rights. Need a recon team sent to Earth. Now." The council voted without debate. The result was unanimous. Humanity was too important to ignore, too powerful to lose. 3 hours later, stealth-class survey vessel dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's moon. The planet turned slowly beneath them, blue and calm. But something felt wrong. To calm. "Where are the satellites?" the pilot muttered. "There should be hundreds," the captain said. "Thousands even. Traffic control, news feeds, weather, nets. It's all gone." They descended into low orbit and passed over the Atlantic. From above, the cities looked untouched. Skyscrapers stood tall. Roads were clean. Lights still flickered in some buildings, but there was no movement. No people. No sounds. Earth was empty. The team landed in New York. They walked through the streets with caution, their suits scanning for life. There was none. Birds still flew. Trees still moved with the wind. But every human being was gone. A half-eaten meal sat on a restaurant table. A child's toy lay abandoned on a bench. In a subway station, the doors of a train stood open. But no passengers were inside. "It's like they all left at once," whispered the engineer. "Or were taken," the captain said grimly in Central Park. They found the first clue deep in the grass, hidden beneath a statue. A small black cube humming softly. It was human tech, old possibly from the early colony era. They brought it back to the ship. When activated, the cube projected a hologram. Human woman appeared, mid-30s, brown hair, steady eyes. She spoke in perfect galactic standard. "We waited," she said. "We tried, we warned, you didn't listen." Her voice was calm, not angry, not afraid, just tired. "Now we leave, and we leave you with your silence." The message ended. The room stayed quiet for several seconds. "What does that mean?" the pilot asked. "Play it again," Vale said through the comms. He was watching live from the council chamber. They played the message again, then a third time. Each time it sounded the same, final, chilling. A second message appeared on the cube, this one encrypted. It would take time to break. The ship flew south to the old Antarctic facility, the site of humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. A historic station turned research center. Maybe something was left there. The facility was unlocked inside. Everything was powered down except one central vault. It opened as soon as the team approached. Inside was another cube larger, heavier, connected to a countdown timer. 11 days. 4 hours. 36 minutes. "What happens when it hits zero?" the medic asked. "We don't know," the captain replied. They brought the second cube back to orbit, and the council began working to decode the encrypted message. Every intelligence agency, every language expert, every AI linguist was assigned to it. But as they worked, more reports came in. Mars, abandoned. Titan, abandoned. The Venus domes, Empty. Even the outer colonies, New Eden, Vega Prime, Far Reach. Silent. Not destroyed. Just gone. No signs of war, no damage, no evacuation warnings. Only silence. The council fell into chaos. Media across the galaxy exploded with fear. Rumors spread. Had humanity discovered something? Had they escaped something? Or had they abandoned the galaxy out of spite? The humans had always been unpredictable, fast-moving, emotional. Some admired them, others feared them, but no one expected them to leave. Back on Earth, the recon team found one more message, this one scratched into a wall inside the United Nations building. It read, "You taught us silence. Now we understand it better than you." No other explanation. The team searched for months. The Council expanded the mission. Ships combed through asteroid fields, deep space, wormhole regions. Nothing. Eventually, the data cube's countdown reached 0. And then it activated. No explosion. No virus. Just a quiet final message. The same woman appeared again. "We are not your enemy," she said. "But we no longer need your voice. We choose silence. And beyond that, we choose something greater." Screen faded, and the cube powered down forever. Counselor Vale sat alone in his office later that night, watching old footage of humanity's first entry into the Council. They had come full of fire and hope. They had changed everything: trade, science, diplomacy. But they were gone now. No demands, no war, no goodbye. Just silence. And the Council, for the first time in centuries, didn't know what to do, because silence was not something they understood. For 7 days, the encrypted message in the second cube refused to unlock. Galactic Council experts, some of the best minds in the galaxy, of every known method. Nothing worked. The message inside remained hidden, protected by a code-base on an old human language most had forgotten, Pre-Stellar Earth Syntax Protocol 9, a dead dialect. Counselor Vale sat inside the translation dome, staring at the symbols. We've always thought humans were too emotional, too chaotic. But this is control. Cold, quiet control. Suddenly, a young linguist barely passed his training. Years raised a hand. I've seen this pattern before. Not in a book, in a game. At a human logic puzzle from Earth's pre-digital age. Vale raised an eyebrow. A puzzle? The boy nodded. Humans hid complex messages in games. Crosswords, chessboards, even music. The team quickly built a code-breaking AI trained on thousands of old Earth puzzle patterns. Within hours, the cube finally opened. A line of text appeared. You've reached this. It means we were right to leave. Then the full message began. The same woman from the first hologram appeared again, now seated in a simple chair. Her voice was soft, steady. No anger, just truth. You saw us as fast, loud, reckless. You watched us rise and feared what we might become. So you isolated us. You blocked our colonies, slowed our tech, called us unstable. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. You were afraid of our growth, afraid that we didn't ask for permission. The team listened in silence. We gave you warnings, sent evidence, pleas, proposals. You ignored us. You smiled in public and cut us in secret. Stole planets. You removed humans from council jobs. You sabotaged our trade. You lied. Her voice dropped. So we stopped speaking, stopped warning. We started building, far beyond your reach. The hologram flickered. A small image appeared beside. Her star map, zooming out from Earth past the Council's known space, into blackness. There is more beyond the stars than you ever believed. We found it, and we're not coming back. Then, a final line of data appeared, a set of coordinates. Far outside the galactic border, unreachable by Council ships. Vale stood slowly. The chamber was dead silent. He turned to the Council members watching from across the galaxy. They knew. They saw this coming. And while we debated, they moved. But this wasn't the end of the shock. Back on Earth, a second recon team entered the ruins of an old communication tower near Nairobi. It was built into a mountain, one of the early beacons humanity used to contact the Council. Inside, they found something new. A third cube, much larger, built directly into the structure. It hummed louder than the others. Active. Alive. As soon as they touched it, it pulsed and opened. This time no hologram appeared. Instead, a countdown began to appear in every major city on Earth's on screens. It's on walls, even inside old satellites still running on backup power. The numbers ticked down. 30 days. Hours. Minutes. And then one final line appeared below. The countdown. This is not a threat. It is a door. The message repeated across dozens of languages. The Council demanded answers. What does the countdown mean? Is it a trap? Why would they leave a door? Vale didn't answer. He had no answer. But deep inside, he felt something shift. This wasn't a weapon. It was a lesson. For the next few days, he visited the old cities on Earth. Paris, Mumbai, Nairobi, San Francisco. Not a single body, not a single sign of war. Everything had been cleaned, organized, powered down with care. The humans hadn't panicked. They had prepared. In Nairobi, while standing near the cube, he noticed something strange. A bird chirped, then another, and another. Suddenly, the nearby screens flashed. Briefly, not numbers. Music. A soft melody, simple piano chords, repeating. Human music. Old, comforting. The kind you might play for a child before sleep. He listened for a long time. When he returned to the council chamber, the others were still arguing. We must secure the cubes. We need military presence across human sectors. We should lock down the signal coordinates. Vale raised a hand. No, you still don't understand. They stopped. We spent decades underestimating them, watching them like a virus, not a people. And while we feared them, they outgrew us. He played the hologram again, the part where the woman said, "You saw us as loud, but silence is also a choice." That night, Vale stayed in his office, watching archived footage from human broadcasts. One stood out. A simple interview with a human philosopher years before the disappearance. She had said, "There will come a time when we don't shout to be heard. We will simply leave the room." And now, they had. The galaxy buzzed with fear. Some believed humanity had created new weapons. Others believed they had found alien allies beyond council space. But a few believed something far stranger. That humanity had evolved not just in technology, but in thought. That they had stepped into a higher form of being, chose to walk away quietly. As the days ticked down, more clues began to appear. On Venus, a poem etched into a glass dome. In silence we remember. In silence we grow. On Mars, a wall of names, billions of them. Every colonist, every explorer. A memory wall, lit with soft white lights that pulsed like breathing. They didn't leave in anger, they left in meaning. And now, the countdown continued. 21 days. 2019. No one knew what would happen when it reached zero. But the Council began to understand something they had refused to see for decades. Humanity didn't leave because they were defeated. They left because they were done talking. And now, the galaxy was left with silence. And the ticking of time, you said. The countdown moved steadily. 15 days. 4 hours. 12 minutes. Across abandoned human cities, the glowing numbers remained unchanged, unhurried, like they had all the time in the world. But the Galactic Council was running out of answers. Every species in the Council Alliance now watched Earth. Millions of viewers tuned in daily to live feeds from the surface. Soldiers patrolled empty streets. Scientists examined the cubes. Translators replayed the messages over and over. Still no one knew what was coming when the clock hit zero. Silence only made it worse. Then, on the 13th day, something changed. A pulse. It wasn't loud, just a low-frequency wave that passed through every council-cum station at once. It came from Earth and nowhere else. It carried a signal buried inside, encrypted again. But this time it wasn't in code. It was in music. Old human music. A calm piano tune, the same one Counselor Vale had heard in Nairobi. It played for 2 minutes, then stopped. The pulse repeated every hour. The council ordered full decoding. The music wasn't just melody, it was patterned. Hidden inside the notes were shifts in frequency, like signals riding beneath the surface. On the second day of analysis, they cracked it. It was a visual file, not a video, a message. They played it in the main chamber. The screen lit up. Soft light revealed a room, small, quiet, familiar. Books on a shelf, a child's drawing on the wall, a pair of worn shoes near the door. A woman stepped into view, the same one from the previous cubes. Calm, focused. Her words were simple. "You've finally heard what we tried to say in 100 different ways." She sat down in the chair, looked into the camera. "You never saw us as equal. Not really. You praised us for art, then mocked our emotions. You bought our tech, then blocked our borders. You used us for expansion, then feared us when we expanded too fast." She smiled sadly. "But the truth is, we always knew we wouldn't stay. Not forever. The council was never our home. It was a step, a mirror, a warning." Her voice dropped low. "You didn't destroy us. You delayed us. You slowed our growth. But we learned." She leaned closer. Silence is a powerful thing. It forces others to listen. The screen faded. The council chamber sat frozen in place. Then a second video loaded automatically. This time it was footage. Actual footage. The screen showed a massive open field somewhere on Earth. Human families stood in long lines. Calm, patient, no panic. They carried bags, children held hands. No soldiers, no violence. A large circular gate stood at the end of the field. Black portal, shimmering with blue light. The first family stepped through and vanished. Then another, and hundreds, thousands, in perfect peace. No rush, no fear. They simply walked into silence. The footage continued. More gates opened across every continent. The same calm exodus played out again and again. And then the final frame froze. A single phrase appeared on the screen. "We are not lost. We are beyond." That night, Counselor Vale stood alone in the archive room. He watched the footage again and again. They hadn't been taken. They chose to go. Somehow, they had found a way to leave not just their home planet, but this entire part of the galaxy. Where had they gone? And what had they left behind? Next morning, a team of council researchers entered the deep vaults of the Moon Archive, an old human data center sealed after their disappearance. It had been dormant for months, until now. When the countdown reached 10 days, the vault unlocked. Itself. Inside was a chamber filled with glowing crystals, data storage units, unknown to the council. When accessed, they revealed an audio log. This time, it wasn't the woman. It was a child. A young boy's voice echoed in the chamber. "Hello? If you're hearing this, we've already gone. My name is Eli, and I helped build the first gate. My mom said we had to leave quietly so no one would try to stop us." There was a long pause. "I don't really understand why the grown-ups were so sad. They said we had to be quiet because people were scared of us. But I think it's because they didn't listen." Another pause. "Liked Earth. I liked the sky. I liked the way the sun looked when it hit the top of the old towers, but I think the new place will be even better." His voice softened. "I hope you come find us one day, but only if you're ready. Mom says that silence is like space. You have to be still to hear what's really out there." The recording ended. Everyone in the chamber stood in stunned silence. A child's voice. Clearer than any diplomat, more honest than any message. Before, back in the council chamber, panic had started to spread. Some worlds believed the humans had built a superweapon. Others feared a massive return attack. Still others believed this was a test of final chance to change. But no one knew which was true. Vale finally addressed the council. "They didn't vanish. They grew. While we debated, they prepared. While we argued over rules, they wrote their own." He paused, his voice quiet. And when they had nothing left to say, they left without saying anything at all. Someone asked, What do we do when the countdown ends? Vale gave the only answer he could. We wait. The galaxy watched as the timer ticked down. 9 days. 8, 7. And still the silence continued. 6 days remained. The countdown pulsed above every empty Earth city. It glowed inside stations orbiting Venus, flickered on old Mars colonies, and echoed through every Galactic Council feed. But there was still no message, no threat, no return. Only silence. The tension grew across the galaxy. Counselor Vale stood aboard Vigilant Edge, a long-range observer ship floating high above Earth's North Pole. The view below was surreal, cities still powered, lights still flickering, but not a single human life anywhere. It looked like a living world, but it was hollow. The crew on Vigilant Edge had been awake for nearly 40 hours. They monitored every transmission, scanned every frequency, and measured every energy spike. From the planet below, and then, at exactly 4 days, 13 hours, 52 minutes, something happened. A sound. Just one. A low hum, deep, ancient, almost like a voice too massive to speak words, came from the Antarctic gate site, buried beneath the ice at the bottom of the planet. 10 years ago, that site was nothing more than a research base. Now it was something else. The Council authorized an immediate landing. 3 scout ships descended through the thick storm clouds over Antarctica. They landed near the mountain ice vault, where the third cube had been found. But something was different now. The vault was open, lit from within by a soft golden glow. No guards, no doors, no locks. The teams entered. Inside, they found a single black structure around, smooth, pulsing gently with light. In the center was a wide circular platform with no control panel, no text. It's just a curved arch floating in. The air. A gate. It was active. One by one, the researchers stepped up. They scanned it, measured it, analyzed it, but the readings made no sense. It wasn't a wormhole, not a portal, not a fold gate. It was something new. A message appeared above the arch, written in soft, white human script. This door is not for the impatient. And then, in smaller letters, only those who understand silence may pass. Counselor Vale was watching the live feed when the words appeared. He leaned forward. He remembered something the human child had said in the Moon Vault recording. Mom says silence is like space. You have to be still to hear what's really out there. Stillness, silence, patience. This wasn't a weapon. It was an invitation. Or maybe a test. Back on the Vigilant Edge, Vale ordered the Council linguists to stop running noise simulations and decoding attempts. Don't break the silence, he said. Let it speak. So they waited, and while they waited, something else emerged. On the 3rd day before the countdown's end, a single pod rose from the Earth's surface, launched from somewhere near the ruins of the new Kyoto colony. It docked with the Council's orbiting station, no crew inside. But there was a final message. A single black disk, smooth and cold. It activated automatically when touched. A voice spoke. Not the woman this time, not the child. A man. Older. Quiet, deep-voiced. This is the last message. Sounded tired but not broken. You tried to stop our growth. You tried to slow our speed. But you never understood why we were running. A pause. We weren't running from you. Another pause. We were running toward something. The screen showed starfields. Endless space, dark, unknown, and in the center just for a moment of flicker of light no council map recognized. The man continued, We found something. Out there. Something bigger, older, quieter than any voice you've ever heard. Then came the final words. If you want to find us, you will need to do more than listen. You will need to stop speaking. The disc powered down. Vale stood in silence for a long time after the message ended. Then he issued a final directive. To all Council fleets still stationed on human worlds, pull back. Shut down all transmissions. No more questions. No more noise. His orders were met with resistance. But no one could deny the truth anymore. Humanity had not vanished by accident. They had evolved beyond the Council's reach. Their silence was not fear. It was purpose. The countdown reached 2 days, and Earth began to glow, not with heat, with radiation, with light. Soft shimmer rose across every continent. The same golden light that pulsed through the Antarctic gate now stretched across the oceans. Through forests, cities, deserts, it was as if Earth itself was preparing to breathe. No one dared approach. No one dared interrupt. And in the final hours, something unexpected happened. One of the Council's monitoring drones, programmed to hover silently, was pulled downward, toward the Antarctic gate. Slowly, gently, it passed through the floating arch and vanished. No explosion, no shutdown. It was simply gone. A moment later, the gate shimmered, and a new message appeared above the arch. One has listened. Then the countdown ticked lower. 23 minutes. When across the galaxy, trillions watched in complete silence, waiting to see what would happen. When the clock struck 0, the countdown vanished. Across Earth's cities, the golden numbers faded like mist. The skies stilled. The gates, glowing quietly in the distance, hummed once more, deeper, slower. The planet held its breath, and then nothing. No explosion, no blinding light. No signal bursts, only silence. Just like before, but something had changed. Above Earth's orbit, the crew aboard Vigilant Edge saw it first. The northern lights shimmered, but not in any pattern the Council had seen before. The colors swirled, like words, symbols, codes. The same spiral pattern began to appear over Mars, Venus, and even Europa's frozen sky. Then came the pulse, a soft thump, barely audible, but felt deep in the bones of every observer, like a heart that had been waiting. And finally, beat it didn't come from the Earth. It came from beyond it, from space, from far, far beyond the edge of known stars. Counselor Vale watched as the instruments aboard the ship lit up in quiet awe. One of the deep-range sensors picked up a data burst, compressed, encrypted. It took their best systems 30 minutes to decode. The message was short. The door is now closed behind us. You were never our destination, but maybe you will become your own, just below it. A final set of coordinates. Coordinates that did not point to Earth. They pointed away, far away, beyond the spiral arms of the Milky Way, into the darkness where no council ship had dared travel. It was a direction, not a place. No human names. No promises. Just that one gesture. If you wish to grow, follow silence. The council chamber lit up with debate. Warnings, fear, hope. Some believed the humans were testing the galaxy. Others were convinced this was the end of contact forever. But the gates on Earth remained, still open, still humming, waiting for what? No one was sure. Vale made his decision in silence. He requested a single shuttle, stripped of weapons and scanners. He would go down alone, no escort. No broadcast, no interference. When he landed near the Antarctic gate, the site was empty. Quiet snow drifted across the ground. The black arch stood as before. Glowing faintly, Vale approached slowly. The message above the gate remained. Only those who understand silence may pass. He stood in front of it for a long time. No words, no questions, just listening then. After what felt like hours, he heard something. A tone. Not in the air, but inside his mind. Faint, familiar music. The same gentle melody that had played weeks ago played now only for him. Vale stepped through. The world blurred. There was no tunnel, no flash, no sense of travel, just one breath and then another. He opened his eyes. He was standing somewhere new, but it wasn't another city. It was a valley. Green, still silent. The sky above was full of stars, millions more than any council world ever saw. They pulsed softly in impossible colors. He turned. Behind him, the gate shimmered like glass, still open. Ahead, in the distance, he saw shapes, not towers, not machines. People, tall, calm, walking slowly through trees. Humans, they saw him but didn't stop. They weren't afraid. They weren't surprised. It was as if they knew someone would come eventually. Eventually Vel did not call out. He didn't need to. This place was not for speech. It was for understanding. A voice gentle, but not spoken, rose. In his mind, you did not chase us. You listened. So, we welcome you. He stood there a long time, unmoving, and slowly, quietly. He began to understand. Back on Earth, the gate shimmered once more. The message changed. One has passed. The council went silent. No one else moved. No ships followed, but they all watched. And in the days that followed, something strange happened. The storms above Jupiter slowed. The deep-bore mines on Mercury suddenly reactivated systems humans had left behind. Now pulsing with new power, old Earth satellites began transmitting simple, repeating pulses maps, coordinates, knowledge, but only. One word marked each file: begin. Some species ignored them. Others stored the data quietly, and a few listened. As for Earth, it remained empty, but not abandoned. Light still glowed. Music still played. The gates remained open, silent, humming, patient, like they were waiting for someone else. To be ready, not to visit humanity, but to reach the silence within themselves. The gate had taken Counselor Vel. He had entered it in silence, with no weapons, no escort, no communication. No one had followed him. No one dared. But Earth remained unchanged. The countdown was gone. The gates were still open, and the world stayed silent. For days, council ships held position around the planet. They scanned the skies, waiting for an explosion, a return signal, or maybe even a threat, but there was nothing, no sound, no movement, no more messages. And then something new appeared. Not on Earth, but on Trilaxis 3, a mining colony on the edge of council space. It was just past midnight on the colony when the ground pulsed once beneath. The rock miners reported seeing a soft light rising from one of the sealed cave systems. When they followed it, they found a black arch, half buried in crystal. Smooth, silent, another gate. But this one was different. It had no countdown, no message, only a still reflection of anyone who stood in front of it. The council was notified within hours. They sent researchers, translators, diplomats, but none of them were allowed through. The gate simply hummed, quiet and closed, until the youngest technician, barely trained, sat down in front of it, said nothing. She didn't scan it, didn't touch it. She just listened, and then the gate opened. Only for her, she stepped through and vanished. Just like Vale, the council was shocked, angry, afraid. But again, no harm, just a growing pattern. The next week, another gate appeared. This time on an old human-built station orbiting a dead moon near Tau Ceti. Same design, same hum, each time. The gate opened only for one person. Only those who approached it without fear, without command, without noise. The galaxy was changing. The silence was spreading, not as a weapon, but as an invitation. And then came the message. Not from Earth, not from the gates. From Velt. His voice echoed across the deep channels, clear, calm, and different. Like he was no longer speaking from a place, but as part of it. This is not exile, he said. It's choice. It's growth. He paused. You believed silence meant death. You were wrong. A moment of stillness. It means readiness. Then the message ended. No coordinates. No signature. Just that voice returning from beyond. The council splintered. Some believed this was the beginning of human domination. Others believed this was the start of something worse, something inhuman. But a few, a quiet few, began to prepare, not with weapons, with listening, with stillness. Back on Earth. The gates began to shift, very slowly. Their arches changed, angle turning, not toward the stars, but inward, facing each other. It formed a circle, a ring, a Silent message, written in position, unity. But that was not all. On the seventh day after the countdown ended, a final event occurred. The sky seed activated. It had been floating above the Earth's equator motionless, silent. It was. Council scientists had tried to scan it, probe it, even land near it. They failed. But now it began to open. Petals of light unfurled like a flower blooming in space. At its center was not a weapon, but a map. A projection of the galaxy, but different. It showed not borders, but connections. Lines of light stretched between stars. Some strong, others flickering. Each line pulsed softly, like veins in a living system, and slowly. Every line began to fade except one. A single path, a road through dark space, stretching out from Earth and ending in the deepest unknown. No names, no endpoint. Just one word pulsing at the final node. Beyond. The meaning was clear. Humanity had left a trail. Not of ships, not of tech, but of truth. They had chosen silence because it was the only thing left the galaxy could not corrupt, could not twist, could not exploit. And in that silence, they had discovered something the Council had forgotten long ago. How to listen that night. Across 1,000 worlds, something strange happened. Children young, untouched by fear and politics, began. Hearing a sound in their dreams, a soft melody, a piano song, no words. Just warmth, a calm, patient tune, always the same. And when they awoke, some of them drew shapes they had never seen before. Circles, spirals, gates. No one told them to. They just knew, and on every drawing. One word appeared in the center. Begin. The galaxy wasn't being threatened. It was being invited. But not everyone would go. Not everyone could. Some were too loud, too afraid, too proud. But others were listening now, and the gates, those silent, humming doors, were opening. One soul at a time, they were calling it the quiet path. A single route, glowing faintly in the star map above Earth, left behind by the sky seed, pointing deep into the void, where no colony, no signal, no light had ever existed. It wasn't a warning. It was a direction, and the galaxy was beginning to understand. The Council, still divided, could no longer ignore the truth. This wasn't a disappearance. It was a departure. But where the humans had gone, no one could follow. Not yet. Not without changing first. The gates that had appeared on distant moons and ancient ruins were still choosing who passed. Some council members tried to force entry, bringing machines, breaking silence, demanding access. None of them returned. But those who stepped forward, with no fear, those who walked alone and listened, they were never seen again. And yet, across council networks, more voices began to echo. Not threats. Not propaganda, just recordings. Short, calm, peaceful. Stories. One came from a woman named Selin, a medical tech who vanished through the gate above the Venusian cloud station. Her voice returned a days later, broadcast from an unknown point in space. I was angry, she said quietly. I came to the gate wanting answers, demanding them. But it didn't open. She paused. I sat down. I let go, and for the first time in years I listened. Not to machines, not to orders, just a quiet. And then she said something. Strange, I heard my mother's voice. Not real, I think. Just it's the memory of her humming. That's when the gate opened. Her message ended with only this. You won't find them by chasing. You'll only find yourself. That line was shared across 1,000 systems. It struck something inside people across the galaxy. The constant noise of politics, war, expansion, it all began to slow. Not everywhere, but in places that mattered. Quiet colonies, deep thinkers. The ones the Council had always ignored. They began building still rooms, listening chambers, not temples, not cults. Just space to be still, because that's what the humans had left behind. Not a trail of technology, a change in rhythm, and then the first child passed through. It happened on June 08, a barren listening post where a single gate had appeared near an abandoned human shelter. Boy barely 9 cycles old approached the gate while his parents slept. He wasn't afraid. Simply sat down beside it and waited. Security feeds showed him humming. Soft human melody with no known source. Then the gate opened, no force. No scan. Just light. He stood up, smiled, and stepped through. His parents awoke to find nothing but the footprints he left behind, and a single word etched into the frozen rock beside the gate. Ready. No one had carved it. No one knew how it got there, but the meaning was clear. Humanity had not left a path for the powerful. They had left it for the prepared. And slowly, the galaxy began to shift. The Council could no longer control the gates. Couldn't claim them, couldn't regulate them, because the gates weren't tools, they were teachers, and their lesson was always the same. Silence is not the end. It is the beginning. By the 7th week after Earth's countdown ended, 73 individuals had passed through gates. None returned. But more messages began to echo from the void. Soft, reflective. Always calm, they spoke of strange places, quiet valleys, with glowing rivers, skies with unfamiliar stars, and massive, floating structures that pulsed like hearts. None described war. None described fear. One simply said, "Here, we remember how to feel time again." And another, "We are not alone. But we are not crowded." And another, "This is not the future. It's what we forgot." Then came the signal. A slow, long hum stretched across deep space, caught by a forgotten listening station, orbiting the collapsed star DRX-4. It carried no language, just feeling. Researchers tried to decode it, but the more they analyzed, the more the data looped, mirrored, shifted like music, instead of math. And then someone recognized the sound. It was the same hum heard on Earth. ... before the countdown began. The first note of departure, a new wave of gates opened the next day, some even on. Council Omer is .1 appeared in the central plaza of Alari Prime, surrounded by towers of steel and glass. Thousands gathered. No one spoke. They waited until a young archivist, barely known even in his own department, walked quietly to the gate. He didn't bow, didn't scan. He simply whispered, "I'm listening." The gate opened. He stepped through, and on the screen, above the plaza, a message blinked 3 times before fading. Another begins. It was happening everywhere now. Not a revolution, not an invasion, but a migration of the quiet dash-hearted. One by one, no armies, no ships, no return. And all across the galaxy, the Council watched. Helpless, the humans were not coming back. But they hadn't left the galaxy empty. They had left it with a choice. Speak, and remain where you are, or listen and step, do. Into the unknown, the gates waited, and their silence spoke louder than words. The galaxy had grown quieter. Not silent, not empty, but different. Everywhere things moved a little slower now. The constant noise, the alerts, the demands, the broadcasts had softened. On many worlds, people began to speak less and listen. More, it wasn't peace, but it was something close. The Council had changed too, though not in ways it understood. Still met, still voted, still debated over what to do about the gates, the disappearances, the children and workers who had quietly walked through portals and never returned. But fewer words were spoken at each meeting. And every chamber now had a listening room. Just one chair. Just silence. No one admitted who suggested it first, but every member used it eventually. And one day the most unlikely person walked into that room, High Counselor Drevin. He was the one who once called humanity the noisiest mistake the stars ever allowed. He had pushed for surveillance, containment, even war. But now, he said nothing. He simply sat in the chair. And after 5 hours of silence, he stood and resigned. No explanation, no press speech. He left the council hall, walked to the gate that had formed in the Capitol's garden weeks earlier, and without looking back, stepped through. It opened only for him, as it had done for all the others. The Council finally understood. They weren't losing control of the galaxy. They were losing the need to control, as something deeper had taken root. The choice, the humans had made it first, in secret, in silence. They had chosen not to fight, not to explain, not to retaliate. They had simply stepped away, not to escape but to grow. And now, others were following. From all species, all classes, all ranks. One by one, like seeds leaving a branch. No pattern, no command, just knowing. The gates continued to appear not as weapons or monuments, but as invitations. Doorways, only opened by stillness. And the map left behind by the sky seed, the quiet path, continued pulsing its soft line through the stars. It didn't promise anything, but it promised more than the galaxy had ever known. Many still resisted. They feared the silence. They called it weakness. They tried to build gates of their own imitations. None worked. They tried to weaponize the real ones. They failed. Because the gates were not machines, or choices, wrapped in matter. They could not be forced. Only earned. And then, after nearly a full cycle since Earth went silent, something new happened. The gates began to close. Not all at once, not loudly, but slowly, one by one. Not in anger, but as if the test was ending, as if the doors would not remain open forever. A soft message appeared across Deep Space Network's no known channel. It had no voice, no signature, just text. 3 words. Last chance to listen, and underneath that, countdown. But this time it was not aimed at Earth. It was aimed inward, at the galaxy itself. The final gate appeared on the edge of the Perseus Veil beyond the stars most had never even seen. It was the largest ever recorded. Twice the size of a dreadnought, orbiting nothing, facing nowhere. One last door, not to follow humanity, but to become something new. Those who had passed through earlier humans' council. Members, workers, children had sent no return signal. No explanation, only messages of peace, of clarity, stillness. And the final one said this: if you are not ready, stay. The galaxy is still beautiful, but if you are, we're waiting. The countdown ticked down for days. No military ship dared approach the final gate. Only one vessel came close. It was not large. Just a quiet science ship, crewed by 7 thinkers and 1 poet. No weapons, no mission, only a choice. And when the time reached 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second, they turned off their engines, shut down their signals, sat together and listened. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds the gate opened, the ship passed through, and then the gate vanished. Not exploded, not destroyed, just gone, as if it had never existed. And across the galaxy, the remaining gates flickered. Some dimmed, some vanished, some stayed, but they no longer hummed. They waited like stars sleeping, like seeds beneath the soil, like questions no longer afraid of the answer. And finally, the Council placed a plaque at the edge of Earth's orbit. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't a record. Just this: humanity chose to grow in silence. We watched. We listened. We began to understand. And now, choose to. And beneath that, one final word: begin. The stars never answered, but they didn't need to, because now, the galaxy had finally learned to listen.